Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming today. This is a nice turnout for a weird 50-degree January day. We're so excited that Reading Aloud is here to read us some poetry today, and I'll just get started by introducing Ina Lowenberg, and thank you. Help me welcome her.
Reading Aloud hasn't given a program at the center for quite a while. We sort of have been at the library, but we are center-based and we really belong here. So this is a time not only to come back to the center, but to give a program that is not a protest set of protest poems, that is not a cause. The title, Love, Etcetera, I wouldn't say tells it all, but tells something. And we hope that you will enjoy it. So I'm going to start introducing our readers: Michael Chan, Jeff Young, Kathy Mitchell, Mary Gutman, Nancy Lynch, Carrie Malone, Sally Young. Is there somebody in the back? We're all here. I'm Ina Lowenberg. And now we will get started, and I hope you like the program. Save applause for the end.
I Am Your Man by Leonard Cohen. If you want a lover, I'll do anything you ask me to. If you want another kind of love, I'll wear a mask for you. If you want a partner, take my hand. Or if you want to strike me down in anger, here I stand. I'm your man. If you want a boxer, I will step into the ring for you. If you want a doctor, I will examine every inch of you. If you want a driver, climb inside. Or if you want to take me for a ride, you know you can. I'm your man. The moon's too bright, the chain's too tight. The beast won't go to sleep. I have been running through these promises to you that I made and I could not keep. But a man never got a woman back, not by begging on his knees. Oh, I'll crawl to you, baby. I'll fall at your feet. I'll howl at your beauty like a dog in heat. And I'll claw at your heart, I will tear at your sheet. I'll say, please, I'm your man. If you want God to sleep a moment on the road, I will steer for you. And if you want to walk the street alone, I'll disappear for you. If you want a father for your child, or only want to walk with me a while across the sand, I'm your man.
Love Song by Joseph Brodsky. If you were drowning, I'd come to the rescue, wrap you in my blanket and pour hot tea. If I were a sheriff, I'd arrest you and keep you in a cell under lock and key. If you were a bird, I'd cut a record and listen all night to your high-pitched trill. If I were a sergeant, you'd be my recruit. And boy, I can assure you, you'd love the drill. If you were Chinese, I'd learn the language, burn a lot of incense, and wear funny clothes. If you were a mirror, I'd storm the ladies, give you my red lipstick, and puff your nose. If you loved volcanoes, I'd be lava, relentlessly erupting from my hidden source. And if you were my wife, I'd be your lover, because the church is firmly against divorce. One of our readers couldn't be here today because of a health problem, so I'm going to read the next poem for him. It is In Paris with You by James Fenton. Don't talk to me of love. I've had an earful. I get tearful when I've downed a drink or two. I'm one of your talking wounded. I'm a hostage. I'm marooned. But I'm in Paris with you. Yes, I'm angry at the way I've been bamboozled and resentful at the mess I've been through. I admit I'm on the rebound, and I don't care, are we bound? I'm in Paris with you. Do mind if we do not go to the Louvre? If we say sod off to sodding Notre Dame? If we skip Champs-Élysées and remain here in this sleazy old hotel room, doing this and that to what and whom, learning who you are and what I am. Don't talk to me of love. Let's talk of Paris, the little bit of Paris in our view. There's a crack across the ceiling, and the hotel walls are peeling, and I'm in Paris with you. Don't talk to me of love. Let's talk of Paris. I'm in Paris with the slightest thing you do. I'm in Paris with your eyes, your mouth. I'm in Paris with all points south. Am I embarrassing you? I'm in Paris with you.
Joy Harjo, our first Native American poet laureate, has written this introduction to the poem that we're going to read next. When I walk over to join you in the two-step, you'd better say yes, the old woman told Death. Death laughed. For her, Death was a fine-looking native man. He wore old-style buckskin. She took his arm. He was a good dancer. They two-stepped all the way to the end of the circle of this earth fire.
Had It Up to Here, Round Dance for Two Voices by Joy Harjo.
Way-ya, hi-ya, way-ya, hi-ya, way-ya, hi-ya, way-ya, hi-ya, ho. I don't like your girlfriend and her high-heeled shoes, and her skirt up to here, and her blonde hair down to here. When you dance right past with her, it gives me the blues. You have the sweetest step in double time. It's just not fair. How can I tell you that I love you when you don't even care?
I don't like your boyfriend and his white man ways. You hold him in your shawl. It makes me crazed. I like the way you step so high beside me, but how can I tell you, babe, when you don't talk to me? Way-ya, hi-ya, way-ya, hi-ya, ho. You used to dance. You'd step so high. We used to come to this place all the time because everybody knew you. Now it seems too many people know you here. Now, how can I tell you these things? You don't even talk to me anymore. You don't even call me up anymore. You don't look at me anymore. You don't even see me anymore. But if you come close to me, I'll tell you how much I love you, honey. How much I love you, honey. Hiya.
I don't like your girlfriend.
But
I never liked any of your girlfriends.
But-
None of them. Not your
But-
Sue, not your Comanche sweetheart, not your shining Shoshone,
But,
not your get-down Dene, not your too-fast girlfriend.
but,
Not your too-fast girlfriend with her up to here and her down to there. Her here down
But-
to
but-
everywhere. It looks bad on me. How could you do this to me?
are you done?
Man, just dance.
Get down. Get funky.
Get down, get creek.
Way-ya, hi-ya, way-ya, hi-ya, yo.
If you come close to me, honey, hey ya.
If you come close to me, honey, hiya. I will have to tell you
I will have to tell you
how much I love you, honey.
how much I love you, honey.
Are you done? Shh. Went out for
Too
a couple
much
of drinks, a couple of
party.
smokes.
Not enough rent.
Didn't mean anything. I mean.
Not
I
enough
woke up on the floor
uptime.
with her with my arms
Too much
around her,
downtime.
but she passed out.
Too
and I was
much
just trying to
downtime.
see if she was still breathing.
Run around.
You read things into it.
Dawning by Joy Harjo. Even the birds were still sleeping when I touched ground. I went around the house, opening windows, then the plants, made my tea, wrote until breaking of morning. I went back up the stairs to see if you were waking. Ever so quiet, the smoky light covered the hills, no one making the rounds yet to pick up trash or edge the grass. You were dreaming when I cradled your head. Your mother's loving, tenderly in place, though she's been gone for many years, and you graying, though ever so handsome in my arms. I tiptoe back to the breaking of light and let you sleep, my king, my everything.
As Is by James Galvin. When she sleeps, she must be in Senegal somewhere. The tide goes out from every shore in the world, and in the middle of the sea, a mountain made of water holds its breath. When she sleeps, everything depends on all the wheelbarrows except the red one. Ordinary women bump into walls, and Shakespeare writes one more sonnet none of us will ever read. When she sleeps, the automobiles of the elderly drift to the shoulder out of respect. Ducks tuck heads under wings, and pelicans can't make water landings. They flip like confetti in wind. When she sleeps, the moon hums, unable to rise or fall. A green kite with a broken string thrashes in bare branches. I stay awake to make sure she sleeps. I never trusted that wheelbarrow. When she sleeps, I believe I will never break these chains. Don't wake up, babe. You are just too beautiful as is.
Song by Allen Ginsberg. The weight of the world is love. Under the burden of solitude, under the burden of dissatisfaction, the weight we carry is love. Who can deny? In dreams it touches the body, In thought constructs a miracle. In imagination, anguish is till born. In human, looks out of the heart, burning with purity. For the burden of life is love, and we carry the weight wearily. And so must rest in the arms of love at last. No rest without love, no sleep without dreams of love. Be mad or chill, obsessed with angels or machines. The final wish is love. Cannot be bitter, cannot deny, cannot withhold if denied. The weight is too heavy. Must give for no return, as thought is given, in solitude, in all the excellence of its excess. The warm bodies shine together in the darkness. The hand moves to the center of the flesh. The skin trembles in happiness, and the soul comes joyful to the eye. Yes, yes, that's what I wanted. I always wanted. I always wanted to return to the body where I was born.
Thanked Be Fortune by Evan Boland. Did we live a double life? I would have said we never envied the epic glory of the star-crossed. I would have said we learned by heart the code marriage makes of passion, duty, dailiness, routine. But after dark, when we went to bed under the bitter fire of constellations, orderly, uninterested, and cold, at least in our case, in the bookshelves just above our heads, all through the hours of darkness, men and women wept, cursed, kept and broke faith, and killed themselves for love. Then it was dawn again. Restored to ourselves, we woke early and lay together, listening to our child crying as if to bird song, with ice on the windowsills and the grass eking out the last crooked hour of starlight.
Good afternoon. Poem in Praise of My Husband, Taos, by Diane DePrima. I suppose it hasn't been easy living with me either, with my peaks and ups and downs, my need for privacy, Leo pride, and weeping in bed when you're trying to sleep, and you interrupting me in the middle of 1,000 poems. Did I call the insurance people? The time you stopped a poem in the middle of our drive over the Nebraska hills and into Colorado, Odetta singing, the whole world singing in me, the triumph of our revolution in the air, me about to get that down, and you saying something about the carburetor, so that all went away. But we cling to each other, as if each thought the other was the raft, and he adrift alone, as in this mud house, not big enough, the walls dusting down around us, a fine dust rain counteracting the good high air and stuffing our nostrils. We hang our pictures of the several worlds, New York collage and San Francisco posters, set out our Japanese dishes, Chinese knives, hammer small Indian marriage cloths into the adobe. We stumble through silence into each other's gut, blundering through from one wrong place to the next, like kids who snuck out to play on a boat at night, and the boat slipped from its moorings, and they look at the stars, about which they know nothing, to find out where they are going. I Let Him Take Me by Sandra Cisneros. I let him take me over the threshold and over the knee. I served and followed, harbored up my things and pilgrimed with him. They snickered at my choice when he took me over. And I vigiled that solitude, my life. I labored love, fierce stitched and fed him, bedded and wifed him. He never disappointed, hurt, abandoned. Husband, love, my life. Poem.
Touch Me by Stanley Kunitz. Summer is late, my heart. Words plucked out of the air some 40 years ago when I was wild with love and torn almost in two. Scatter like leaves this night of whistling wind and rain. It is my heart that's late. It is my song that's flown. Outdoors, all afternoon under a gunmetal sky, staking my garden down. I kneeled to crickets trilling underfoot as if about to burst from their crusty shells. And like a child again, marveled to hear so clear and brave a music pour from such a small machine. What makes the engine go? Desire, desire, desire. The longing for the dance stirs in the buried life. One season only, and it's done. So let the battered old willow thrash against the window panes and the house timbers creak. Darling, do you remember the man you married? Touch me. Remind me who I am. The Frogs After Dark by Robert Bly. I am so much in love with mournful music that I don't bother to look for violinists. The aging peepers satisfy me for hours. The ant moves on his tiny Sephardic feet. The flute is always glad to repeat the same note. The engine rejoices in its dusky mansion. Bears are often piled up close to each other. In caves of bears, it's just one hump after another, and there is no one to sort it out. You and I have spent so many hours working. We have paid dearly for the life we have. It's all right if we do nothing tonight. We've heard the fiddlers tuning their old fiddles, and the singer urging the low notes to come. We've heard her trying to keep the dawn from breaking. There is some slowness in life that is right for us, but we love to remember the way the soul leaps over and over into the lonely heavens.
Black on Black by Adi Kaisar. My grandmother loved me with a thick accent, spoke to me Yemeni words I never understood. And as a child, I remember how scared I was to stay alone with her, out of fear that I wouldn't understand the tongue in her mouth, which she kept singing to me with a smile. I didn't understand a single word she said, the sounds far, far away even when she spoke closely. Once, I remember, she bought me a pineapple yogurt, and after I punched a hole with my thumb in the thin aluminum lid and drank it all, I wanted to say, "Thank you," but didn't know which language to use. So I went to the big garden, plucked a flower, and handed it to her, sheepishly. I remember how much awkwardness stood between us of one blood and two muted tongues. She washed the yogurt cup silently, filled it with water, and placed the flower in it. I never understood a word she said, my grandmother, but I understood her hands. I understood her flesh, even though she never really understood the words I said, and simply loved my little body, the daughter of her daughter. And sometimes the heart asks strange things for itself, like to learn Yemeni and return to her grave, lay lips to the earth and cry into it all that that little girl had to say, and mainly to warn her that the flower I'd given her was full of ants. Pine, by Melody Lachina. You want a table of it, simple, solid, something you'd find in your grandmother's kitchen. In antique shops, we run our fingers along the wood you don't intend to buy. Oak, hard and unaffordable. Maple, like autumn you can eat on. Teak from countries you've gone to without me. We turn to pine. No use looking seriously, you're not ready to decide. Still, it's good to know what you have to choose from. Who chose this wood to be a verb of longing? Not of love, but of yearning that darkens and deepens to grief. An old meaning, I go away from you and think, table. Made from trees that hold their needles, season after season, no matter how many years.
Questions About Angels by Billy Collins. Of all the questions you might want to ask about angels, the only one you ever hear is, how many can dance on the head of a pin? No curiosity about how they pass the eternal time besides circling the throne chanting in Latin, or delivering a crust of bread to a hermit on earth, or guiding a boy and girl across a rickety wooden bridge. Do they fly through God's body and come out singing? Do they swing like children from the hinges of the Spirit, saying their names backwards and forwards? Do they sit alone in little gardens, changing colors? What about their sleeping habits, the fabric of their robes, their diet of unfiltered divine light? Do they go inside their luminous heads? Is there a wall whose tall presence can look over there and see hell? If an angel fell off of a cloud, would he leave a hole in a river? And would the hole float along endlessly, filled with the silent letters of every angelic word? If an angel delivered the mail, would he arrive in a blinding rush of wings? Or would he just assume the appearance of a regular mailman and whistle up the driveway reading the postcards? No, the medieval theologians controlled the court. The only question you ever hear is about a little dance floor on the head of a pin where halos are merged to converge and drift invisibly. It is designed to make us think in millions, billions, to make us run out of numbers and collapse into infinity. But perhaps the answer is simply one. One female angel, dancing alone in her stocking feet, a small jazz combo working in the background. She sways like a branch in the wind, her beautiful eyes closed, and the tall, thin bassist leans over to glance at his watch, because she has been dancing forever. And now it is very late, even for musicians. When Angels Came to Zimmer, by Paul Zimmer. One morning, a great gaggle slid down through the holes in clouds, twirling like maple seeds through trees to the window screen. Fervent as a new Tuscan moths, they flapped and dashed themselves, smearing their heavenly dust, until Zimmer, in pity and alarm, opened to let them into his study. They flew in with smiles and sighs, making him bashful, as if a dozen gorgeous chorus girls had suddenly pranced into the room. They perched on bookshelves, cigar stubs, and beer cans. One even tried to sit on Zimmer's lap. All day they danced the Lindy, and some, not knowing better, dabbled their darling toes in the toilet bowl. They sang chorus after chorus of Stardust and Moonlight in Vermont, constantly touching and stroking Zimmer, and then at day's end, as if someone had rung a bell, they stood to sing a final chorus of Deep Purple. With a whoosh of air and expensive perfume, they fluttered from the room and ascended. Zimmer stepped out to watch them rise and flapped his dirty hanky at the stars. Angels by Katha Pollitt. They thought the job would be more musical, rainbows and trumpets. They'd burst through clouds of marble streaked with flame and offer blinding demonstrations of the ontological proof of God. People would look up and say, ineffable. Instead, they swooped through the mall, calling Ashley, Pammy, fished Mrs. Baines's wedding ring from the drain again, and suspended the laws of physics on the freeway while simultaneously fielding the collective pleas of Sister Perpetua's 7th grade. Bauxite, they hiss. Cortez, Tegucigalpa. Why don't they just study? One angel would gripe to another. She told them Latin America would be on the test. Gradually, they stopped showing up. They moved into studio apartments and took day jobs working with plants and animals. You can spot a pair of them sometimes at the back of the Greek diner, giggling and whispering over fruit plates. No, Timmy, really, the principal export of Bolivia is lightning. Or maybe they solder downtown at the end of the day, one jingling your keys, the other tossing your lottery tickets into the gutter. Later, they'll find their way into a dark little bar, hidden away below the decks, order cocktails named after movie stars, and try out the bed in your stateroom on the liner that left exactly on time after all.
Fire by Judy Brown. What makes a fire burn is the space between the logs, a breathing space. Too much of a good thing, too many logs packed in too tight, can douse the flames almost as surely as a pail of water. So, building fires requires attention to the spaces in between as much as to the wood. When we are able to build open spaces in the same way we have learned to pile on logs, then we come to see how it is the fuel and the absence of fuel together that makes the fire possible. We only need to lay a log lightly from time to time. A fire grows simply because the space is there, with openings in which the flame that knows just how it wants to burn can find its way.
I Cannot Say I Did Not by Sharon Olds. I cannot say I did not ask to be born. I asked with my mother's beauty and her money. I asked with my father's desire for his orgasms and for my mother's money. I asked with the cradle my sister had grown out of. I asked with my mother's longing for a son. I asked with patriarchy. I asked with the milk that would well in her breasts, needing to be drained by a little living pump. I asked with my sister's hand-me-downs lying folded. I asked with geometry, with origami, with swimming, with sewing, with what my mind with thirst to learn. Before I existed, I asked, with the love of my children to exist, and with the love of their children. Did I ask with my tiny flat lungs for a long portion of breaths? Did I ask with the space in the ground, like a portion of breath where my body will rest when it is motionless, when its elements move back into the earth? I asked with everything I did not have to be born, and nowhere in any of it was there meaning. There was only the asking for being, and then the being, the turn taken. I want to say that love is the meaning, but I think that love may be the means, what we ask with.
The Lanyard by Billy Collins. The other day I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, when I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into the past more suddenly, a past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift for my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard, or wear one if that's what you did with them, but that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand, again and again, until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light, and taught me to walk and swim, and I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here's clothing and a good education, and here's a lanyard, I replied, which I made with the help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bone and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift. Not the worn truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-toned lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even.
Passing Through a Small Town by David Shumate. Here the highways cross. One heads north, one heads east and west. On the corner of the square adjacent to the courthouse, a bronze plaque marks the place where 2 Civil War generals faced one another and the weaker surrendered. A few pedestrians pass. A beauty parlor sign blinks. As I turn to head west, I become the school teacher living above the barber shop, polishing my shoes each evening, gazing at the square below. In time, I befriend the waitress at the cafe, and she winks as she pours my coffee. Some people begin to talk, and for good reason. I become so distracted I teach my students that Cleopatra lost her head during the French Revolution and that Leonardo perfected the railroad at the height of the Renaissance. One day, her former lover returns from the army and creates a scene at the school. That evening, she confesses she cannot decide between us, but still we spend one last night together. By that time, I pass the grain elevators on the edge of town. I am myself again, the deep scars of love already beginning to heal.
These are some images and sounds in excerpts from the play The Tempest by William Shakespeare. The first one, the monster, Caliban, describes how amazing the island he lives on is. Be not afeared. The isle is full of noises, sounds, and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears, and sometime voices that if I then had waked after long sleep will make me sleep again, and then in dreaming the clouds methought would open and show riches ready to drop on me, that when I waked I cried to dream again. The next two excerpts are at the end of the play. The great magician Prospero is ready to give up his magic staff and his book of magic and go back to his other life. Our revels now are ended. These our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air, and like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Ye elves of hills, brooks, standing lakes, and groves, and ye that on the sands with printless foot do chase the ebbing Neptune and do fly him when he comes back. You demi-puppets that by moonshine do the green sour ringlets make, whereof the ewe not bites. And you whose pastime is to make midnight mushrooms, that rejoice to hear the solemn curfew, by whose aid, weak masters though ye be, I have bedimmed the noontide sun, called forth the mutinous winds, and twixt the green sea and the azured vault set roaring war. To the dread rattling thunder have I given fire, and rifted Jove's stout oak with his own bolt. The strong-based promontory have I made shake, and by the spurs plucked up the pine and cedar. Graves at my command have waked their sleepers, oped and let 'em forth by my so potent art. But this rough magic I here abjure, and when I have required some heavenly music, which even now I do, to work mine end upon their senses that this airy charm is for, I'll break my staff, bury it certain fathoms in the earth, and deeper than did ever plummet sound, I'll drown my book.
Thank you very much for coming.